The whole world is worried about the cyber attack that began early today on Friday, and it has now hit 74 different countries. Russia probably got hit the worst, and I thought we'd get a perspective on this from Shawn Tuma, who is an attorney and a cybersecurity expert. Shawn, good to have you back on the program.
Thank you, Lars. I appreciate it.
Now, I've seen that this attack has been attributed to some group called Shadow Brokers that allegedly was taking stolen NSA tools, ransomware, and simply distributing it or dumping it out there. Is that what your understanding is?
Well, from almost. From what I understand, the Shadow Brokers revealed the existence of a vulnerability in Microsoft software that the NSA had used and had available to exploit in their release last summer. And then that's how it became known that this vulnerability existed, and that's how it got used. I don't believe the Shadow Brokers are actually running the campaign behind it.
They're just the ones who said, here's the vulnerability, you can exploit it, and then some other group decided to exploit it. I guess the ransomware is called WannaCrypt or WannaCry, and effectively it goes in, it gets opened up as a file. Somebody has sent an email, they click on the file, it opens up, it takes over the computer, and then it basically says if you want the computer unlocked, pay money.
That's right. And look, this is an epidemic right now. And before this happened today, Lars, over 50% of the cases I've dealt with in the last 6 months for clients that come to me for help involve ransomware. That's how prevalent ransomware has become. And then today, this just took it up to a whole new level. And, you said the critical thing. It starts with someone opening an email and either clicking on a link or downloading an attachment. That's how these things start.
So it's not very sophisticated. Those of us who work in companies with really good IT teams, and I think we have a good one, they tell us, don't open a file from anybody you don't know. Well, Shawn, you can imagine how tough that is for a guy in my business, because I get lots of people emailing me, some of whom email all the time, but I receive about 1,100 emails a day. And I try to answer all of them, but I've become a lot more leery of opening things up, even though folks are constantly sending things saying, hey, take a look at this or take a look at that. And some of what they're sending is valuable to what I do, but not valuable enough to get my computer all locked up over it.
That's right, and we don't know when it's infected or not when we're talking about attachments like that. Sometimes it's a legitimate person that knows you sending something to you, and their system has been compromised, and the document infected, and they don't know it either.
And isn't the other problem with this that, as I read into some of the details, and remember, this attack really dates back to what, the early morning hours of today in Great Britain?
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, the problem or the flaw, the vulnerability that they're exploiting in Microsoft Windows was known to Windows, to Microsoft, and they put out a patch in March, so over a month ago. But it sounds like some of the institutions that were hit had simply not bothered to or paid attention to the advisories to update their software and fix the patch the hole.
You're exactly right, Lars. This is one more example of security basics that there's really no excuse for not doing, but many people and many companies don't do it. And that is when you get these security updates with these patches, they see it as a burden and an aggravation. But it's really the way the operating system companies put these out to help you secure your device. And when you don't do it, you're vulnerable to this stuff even more than otherwise.
I'm talking to Shawn Tuma, who's an attorney and a cybersecurity expert. Shawn, one other thing that's a public policy issue. I want our intelligence services to be able to get information to protect this country. But what are the ethics of having a U.S. government agency that finds a flaw, and I'm sure they're looking for them, and then exploits the flaw, figures out how to use it to its advantage, and then not informing Microsoft, go back and patch this hole because it works out well for the NSA or the CIA. Because as much as I want them to have the data necessary to protect this country, I'm a little concerned that a government agency knew about this flaw and they said, hey, we can use this, as opposed to we could help the good guys patch this first.
That's right, Lars. Well, what you're talking about is a debate that's really ongoing and fairly heated, and we call it the equity process. And that's where we're talking about the ethics, of that issue. And, you know, information and cyber is the new tool of warfare, espionage, politics, you name it. And we want our government to have superiority in that domain. But like you said, is it for the greater good to not reveal that, or to use it, you know, or reveal it and allow it to be processed and fixed? But the real problem comes in when our government agencies have these tools that they use, and then they can't even protect it, like in this case, and then it gets exposed out to everyone and makes us all much, much more insecure.
See, that's the concern I've got. Shawn, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much for taking the time tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you, Lars.
You bet. Shawn Tuma, who is an attorney and a cybersecurity expert.